it's Jeannie here today. I'm so glad to be joined by worship leader, songwriter from Passion Music, Brett Younker. There's a new EP out and I've been listening to it. So powerful. Brett, thank you for joining me and just for doing what you do, releasing songs of praise in this time. Appreciate it.
Oh man, what an honor. Yeah, it's so good.
Right. Well, let's talk about Burn Bright, the EP. I know you guys unveiled it at Passion 2022, which I definitely want to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
But kind of talk about just Burn Bright and where did it come from? The first, the title, you know, the urgency to feel like this is the message that we Passion Music want to release into the climate now.
Yes. Well, I think you know, a lot of our this music and a lot of our music is kind of the heart, you know, big heart of Passion is gathering people, and we've been doing that for years now, and it's a big heart of Louie and Shelley, and it's something God's allowed us to be able to do, is just to be able to pull people together from, you know, all circles of the church. And so as we were doing that for Passion 2022, one of our big prayers that we've been praying is that God, would you send a generation to the nations? That, you know, that was like a big thing. You know, we're wanting to put before college students that your life can matter if you live for something larger than yourself, that you can live for the glory of God. And specifically in this moment in time, Lord, would you help a wave of college students just see that one of the calls that you have on your people is to take the gospel, to take the message of Jesus, you know, the message of resurrection to every nation, tribe, and tongue. And so in that, you know, one of the title comes from, there's a lyric in one of the songs called Shine Like Stars. And it said, I'm going to burn bright, you know, I'm going to let love shine. I'm going to shine like stars in the heavens. And in that song too, it has that prayer from Isaiah 6, right? As Isaiah has seen the glory of the Lord. Like, this was our prayer for Passion, as people saw Jesus, as they experienced Jesus, the power of God touching their life, just like Isaiah. That, you know, they would, you know, like in Isaiah 6, so who will go for us? And Isaiah says, here am I, send me. And that song was just one of the songs that was just gave us like the words to say in that moment. And so, you know, and that's what those songs that, you know, all this beautiful Jesus, again, it's just Jesus at the center of everything, what he's done, just again, the gospel story. And so, yeah, all that kind of stuff was stirring around in all of us as we were kind of moving towards these days.
And it's amazing because, you know, coming out of or through a pandemic, I'm not sure if we're out of it yet or
Who
not.
knows? Who knows?
I don't know where we are.
We don't know where we are.
Yes.
He knows where we are. We're good.
It's so crazy. Exactly.
Yeah.
But in the midst of a pandemic and the world shutting down, I know Passion 2021 was canceled. Well, not canceled, but the in-person,
We pivoted.
dynamic.
Yep.
Yeah, so you know, it's amazing that you all felt that urgency to just continue to share Christ the way you did, especially because so many people really saw what they were made of in this season in terms of what their faith was really made of, and church was, you know, quote unquote canceled and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, can you talk a little bit to that? Just, I mean, you went to Passion 2022, you were there, you were worshiping our Lord. There were so many people there. Talk to that, because we're in an age where people think that Christianity is just becoming irrelevant, and, you know, so many people are deconstructing or whatever, you know, that means these days, and all these different things. But you stand on a stage, you get to lead people, thousands of people, young people, a new generation in worship. Talk to that, what you witness, what you're seeing when you're up there.
Yeah, well, in terms of me being up there, I was just really grateful, honestly, and really humbled to be in the room. I didn't realize how grateful I would be to ever be in an atmosphere of faith like that again. I've been really fortunate to be in a lot of those atmospheres of faith over my life so far. And I didn't know. Just coming out of the years that we've been, I didn't know if I would get to do something like that again. And so
Wow.
I'm just really grateful. But also at the same time, I felt what a lot of our team felt, which was these days have been hard. They have been confusing. There are
Yeah.
people asking lots of questions. They're seeing things that don't add up, and they're trying to process all of that. And I think what it is, I mean, there is a cultural thing. We're looking for something that's true, something that's firm, something to stand on, and a way to walk. And it's been confusing for a lot of us. And I think that um, one of the things I've been grateful for about the ministry of Passion in my life is it really has been that Jesus is central. The glory of God is central. I know people may think one way, but the church has weathered a lot of the world's storms. I mean, just in our 2,000-year history.
Mhm.
So I'm personally not concerned for that. I know that's part of the fear thing that we can kind of get in a big cycle about that. I'm not afraid for the church because God loves the church. It's God's idea to reach and save the world. And I'm leaning into that, and I'm trusting that. And I
Mhm.
don't understand all the uncertainty in the world and what's going
Mhm.
on, but I do believe that God, when Jesus says in Matthew 5, "You are the light of the world, a city set on a hill," and He's shining through us, even in these moments, even in the hard moments. And so, yeah, all that to say, I just love the simplicity of the message. That's what I felt like getting in the same room and saying, "Hey, Jesus is great, and His glory is central in our souls and on the earth." That's what the angels were singing. The whole earth is filled with His glory. Um, he died on a cross so He can weather. He defeated sin and death, and He rose again. And this is the message of hope and resurrection that we carry as the church. And so I just love getting back in the ring, because to me, that's what this season's been all about. It's kind of been about clarifying and simplifying. And
Mhm.
I think that's what helps us walk through those hard times, even those times that are uncertain, and we all have them. So none of us are immune from questions and hard places, hard things. But for me, I just kind of keep going, okay, what do I know? What are the basics? And that's what helps me take steps forward.
That's awesome. How, if it has, or you might have already kind of touched on it, but has your worship at all changed following this pandemic or coming out of this kind of different season that we've been in?
Yeah, for sure. I haven't thought about that tons, but I think if I, yeah, I mean, I'm different, so I'm sure my worship is as well.
Wow.
I think, but I think that's as God refines all of us and we all grow in our relationship with Jesus, and well, hopefully by God's grace, we're becoming more like Him. But I think, yeah, again, I think things simplified for me, where maybe things that I thought were important don't seem as important to me anymore. But the basics of walking with Jesus and walking in the calling. Well, okay, so what is my calling? Well, I'm married, so I'm a husband. That's part of my calling. I'm a dad. That's part of my calling. I'm a pastor. I am a worship leader and a songwriter, and so okay, those are parts of my assignments and things like that. So, but how can I do those things when I can't? I mean, for a while we were shut down, wasn't doing any of that. So how? Well,
Mhm.
I've got things in my hand. I've got things how can I help people see Jesus? That's at the core of being a worship leader, right? Is to help
Yeah.
lead people to see God. And so I don't know, it's just kind of like, again, it helps me weather the uncertain things when I'm like, okay, these things kind of grounded me. So just, I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think
Yeah, it does.
it, things got a lot clearer and simpler as stuff began to shift and shake.
That's awesome. I love that. Is there a song on Burn Bright that's just kind of really ministering to you right now?
Yes. I mean, oh, so many. It's hard, hard to
I know
answer.
you have to pick one.
Yeah. Yeah, pick one. Okay. Well, my one that I'd pick is a song called "What He's Done." I think this is, and I had nothing to do with this song other than I get to sing it, along. So, but my buddy Christian Stanfield, who's in Passion Music with me, and he wrote this song with a couple amazing worship, Anna, who's on the song, Tasha, and another great songwriter producer named Jacob, and uh, they wrote this song, and I just think it's a gift to the church right now. Just to think, it says, what he's done, all the glory and the honor to the Son. My sins are forgiven, my future is heaven. I praise God for what he's done. And I love that because it's in the uncertain times, like we've been talking about, to look back at the faithfulness of God helps bolster our faith to propel us forward in faith. And while at the same time, when you really think about what all God has done in our lifetime, like just that what we've seen in our lifetime, he's so worthy of our worship. So today I choose to worship God just based on the things that I've experienced in my life up to this point, but yet he's not done. I mean, I've seen what he's done, but I know he's not done working in me and even through me. And so, I love this song. I think it sounds like a timeless song. It's a gift to the church. I'm really grateful for it. Thanks, Christian.
Mm. Right. Well, we really appreciate you and just what you guys do for the Lord and just what you continue to put out in the world, I've always loved the passion music. Like I've always loved the name of your group because it's what we do. Like we come from that place of passion. But if you had to kind of define what that means,
Yeah.
passion in the Lord, right? Because the world has their own definition of passion. What does that mean? And then you can feel free to add anything else that you'd like.
Yeah. Well, I think, early on when I was like a high school, college student, and I kind of found my way into what is this passion movement thing. One of those definitions that I heard that it hasn't shaken me, or I just haven't like stopped thinking about it necessarily, it's a definition of passion is the degree of difficulty you're willing to endure for the goal. And
Wow.
when I think about, and when you put that in the context of Jesus and our relationship with God, it's being so in love with Jesus, being so moved by Jesus, being so, like Isaiah said, I'm ruined for anything else other than knowing Jesus. That's why Paul was able to endure what he endured. That's why Peter was able to endure what he endured. John, the same thing. And it's not this like, it's I can walk through the hardships of this world. I can walk through the brokenness of this world because I've seen something so much greater, and I've seen someone who is better and stronger. And so I think that's what it is. I think it's our hearts not settling, our lives not settling for something that is less than the greatest thing in the world. And so that's so if you're going to say, oh, passion music, it's people who are in love with Jesus so much so that we're willing to give it all for him.
Love that. And that's what we need. We need more of that in this world. Thank you so much.
Thank
Is there
you.
anything else that you'd like to share, Brett?
No, I just hope, I'm just, again, grateful to be here, grateful to be a part, and just hope, wherever this finds you, whoever is listening or watching, just that, God would meet you right where you are, and that you would get that glimpse of him, and that you would get to experience his kindness and his mercy and his compassion, and that you would be so ruined for anything else, that you'd be so in love with God, that you'd be willing to give it all to follow him and to share his name with everyone you can.